everyone, and thank you for listening to the 109th ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the Revel Advertising Studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I'm great, Cameron. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Cardinals are playing playoff baseball. I'm rocking my Albert Pujols Cardinals jersey, and I was listening to them on the radio on the way over to the studio. They're winning.
We love a good Red October, right?
Oh, yeah. And they're beating the Padres in the wild card round. We were just talking about the Major League Baseball playoff structure this year is interesting due to the shortened season. And we couldn't even remember exactly what the playoff structure was before 2020, before COVID, with the wild card game and whatnot. I'll be honest, I haven't paid as much attention to baseball in recent years as I used to. Part of that's not having Fox Sports Midwest on my TV.
Yeah, it was nice as a kid. We had that channel, and I watched the Cardinals every single night growing up.
Yeah, but when they're in the playoffs, I do pay attention a little bit more.
For sure.
Kind of a fair weather fan in that regard.
Yeah, me too.
When I was listening on the radio, I was like, man, I do not know who some of these players are. Like, oh, Matt Carpenter? Okay. Yadier Molina? Oh, yeah, I got that. And then they would say some names. I was not exactly sure if they were talking about the Cardinals or the Padres.
Yeah, they got some guys that have been on the team for a long time, like Molina and Wainwright, both guys who
still play
and are good.
Yeah.
Wainwright's had a really good year.
Yeah, that's actually shocking at his age and after his injuries and whatnot. People are not here to listen to us talk about Cardinals baseball.
They might be.
Some of them probably don't mind it, but there's probably some people that despise it. They're here to hear us talk about Mizzou football specifically this week.
We can do that.
Before we get into the meat of the episode, we do have just one news item, I believe, is all we could muster. Aubry Miller and Chris Sheeran have opted out of the 2020 season. So that's that.
Yeah, Chris Sheeran, that news came out literally at kickoff of the game last weekend, which to me is probably the most confusing one of all the opt-outs, because I think he was in line to get quite a bit of playing time, had heard some good things about him, and I don't know. Like we've talked about in the past, it may not be all performance-related stuff. There may be some other things outside of the game of football that we don't know about, and that we respect his decision, but timely opt out, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense in that regard. But I don't know why you go through all the practices and all that stuff, though. I mean, it seems like he's had time to make that decision if that was something other than football. But
do we know? We talked about this last week, and the answer was no. We don't know. What does that actually mean to opt out, though? Like, are players still practicing? Are they going to meetings, anything like that? Or are they just, taking a semester off from football? I have no idea.
I wish I knew. Because they don't lose any eligibility, I'm not really sure why they wouldn't just play, but...
Yeah, I don't know. Surely, though, if the reason they're opting out is COVID-related, then they're not going to be, going to interacting with the team or else...
Right. And Coach Drinkwitz has said, these players will be welcome back whenever it's time for that, and we'll see how it goes, though.
Yeah.
I think that those guys will have to earn their spot back for whatever spot they did have. They're gonna have to re-earn that spot and prove to the team that they're committed and ready to go. Aubry Miller is a guy that we had high hopes for years now, and has never really panned out. He was third string on the depth chart whenever that came out last week. So yeah.
All right, that's enough news. Kyle, I forgot one other thing I'm great about is or one other reason I'm great is today is International Podcast Day.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, congratulations to us.
Yeah.
Today is actually my birthday, and yesterday was producer Cameron's birthday.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
I was doing a fake out there. I was trying to make you think that I was going to talk about your birthday, but then I talked about International Podcast Day.
Well, I thought that since you were talking about notable days, I might as well just throw that out there that we're both having birthdays.
Yeah,
so.
It's birthday season.
It is.
Here at the Missouri Sports Podcast.
Absolutely.
Yeah, my birthday was back in June, but when you go back to back like that, that's worth celebration.
Not everybody can be born in the great month of September.
True. Yeah. I think people want to hear us talk about this first game of the season that happened against Alabama, but before we do that, I want to let everybody know that this episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast is brought to you by the Missouri Sports Podcast t-shirt. Kyle's wearing one right now if you're watching on YouTube. And the Missouri Sports Podcast sticker. If you want either one of those things, you may purchase those at, what's it called, Producer Cameron?
Missouri Sports Pod. BigCartel.com.
MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com.
Maybe we'll put a link in the description for that.
We definitely will. The t-shirt is only $15.
To steal.
It's a bargain.
You're stealing from us.
That's an incredible deal. And we do not have very many quantity of certain sizes. And when it's gone, it's gone. We'll have to reorder. So get it while it's hot. How much are stickers, Producer Cameron? Do you know off the top of your head? Or you can
$3.
My goodness. You got to be kidding me.
Oh, just giving that kind of stuff out, man.
You're just giving them away. So, yeah, check out MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com.
Yes.
I don't even want to know what you had to do to get that domain name.
Yeah, that must be expensive. Get yourself a t-shirt, get a sticker. I've got one on the back glass of my truck. Looks really nice.
It does.
Now, let's talk about this Alabama game. Alabama came into Columbia and beat the Tigers 38-19.
Should have been 20.
Should have been 20.
Cameron, this was an interesting college football day. We had a later game, so we got to see the rest of the day unfold before kickoff of the Missouri game. This was a good day for underdogs. I should have thought about who performed well before I said that statement, but Kansas State beat Oklahoma. That's big right there.
Yeah.
That's huge. And who
Kansas,
else?
Oklahoma out of the playoff.
Out of the play. Big 12 out of the playoff.
Yeah.
Honestly, Oklahoma State has the best shot there now, and then that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So, Big 12 out of the playoff.
You don't even want to mention this one. Mississippi State.
Oh, Lord.
Big upset
Yeah.
over LSU, defending national champions.
Georgia did not look very good.
Early.
Arkansas looked pretty good against them.
Georgia switched quarterbacks, though, and got things rolling.
I actually didn't know that. There were some teams that basically on the day that we're playing the number 2 team in the country is like, okay, maybe it's possible.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I ever got to that point, like maybe it's possible, but it was just like, maybe it is possible.
I am sure I never got to that point.
But the problem is, Cameron, that Alabama doesn't lose to bad teams. In fact, they showed a statistic on the screen. They have now won 91 games in a row against unranked opponents. They just don't mess up.
Yeah.
They don't stub their toe. They don't lose to bad teams.
They don't beat themselves.
They're so disciplined. Yeah. So I just kind of feel
last year their only losses were to Auburn and LSU by a combined 8 points.
Yeah. I kind of knew, like, again, we talked about it so much. Don't judge too much off of this game because Alabama truly is like the greatest program in the country, and they don't lose to unranked teams. Yeah. So it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, if you want to talk about like the fact that they missed the playoff last year and haven't won a national championship in like 365 days, and you want to say like their dynasty is over, that's just you just can't go that far with it. I mean, they've been number 1 in the country just so many weeks, Yeah. And they're at the top 5 in the recruiting rankings every year. They're making the college football playoff every year except last year. And they're probably a little bit better this year than they were last year.
Yeah. They just are the most consistent program over the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, and when you look at dynasty, there's enough variance just in winning the actual national championship. Winning it all is so hard to do. I'm considering a dynasty. I'm including like trips to the playoff and like just double-digit win seasons.
Yeah.
You have to win some national championships in there as well, in my opinion. It's kind of like, the New England Patriots or something. When they go on a streak of that many Super Bowl appearances out of so many years, sure, they've won a lot of them, but I'm kind of just lumping that whole era.
They're always there.
Yeah.
Always a force
dynasty
in some way.
type era.
Yeah. Yeah, not only is Alabama good, but we're playing week 1, and they've got everybody's healthy week 1. So all those 5-star players are good to go.
Alabama or Missouri, I should say, more healthy than I think we would have even hoped for 2 weeks ago, when we found out there was a COVID situation. Hazleton still wasn't practicing much at all.
Yeah.
And, a few things like that just kind of broke Missouri's way here at the last minute. So they were pretty much mostly healthy for this game.
Mm-hmm.
But
we did lose Jarvis Ware pretty much right as soon as the game started.
Right. I was going to ask you about that. Do we know anything?
He's day-to-day is what I've heard with some kind of knee injury. But so day-to-day with a knee injury, it can't be anything more than a sprain.
Right.
And hopefully he'll be back. But, Coach mentioned that Ishmael Burdine was part of the plan anyway, even if Ware was healthy. And he got a lot of playing time. Mm-hmm. And obviously he had to defend Jalen Waddle for the whole game, so it's kind of hard to judge how well he played. But I don't think that he did terrible, and so I'm kind of excited to see him out there a little bit more.
Yes. Alabama kind of just ran away with this one early, jumped out to a first half lead of 28-3. They also scored the first touchdown of the second half to make it 35-3 before Missouri showed some life on offense. And Missouri actually outscored Alabama 16-10 in the second half for that final score of 38-19. Obviously now Alabama's 1-0, Missouri 0-1. Right off the bat here, Kyle, I want to put you on the spot. I want you to give me 3 players that you were impressed with, 3 Missouri players that you were impressed with out of this first game.
I would say that these aren't necessarily the 3 best players, but the 3 that pleasantly surprised me.
Sure.
Honestly, number 1, I probably have to say Martez Manuel. I didn't even know if he was going to start. I didn't even know if he would play that much this year because of all the depth at that position. He beat Stacey Brown out for the strong safety position, and I think he showed why in this game. He had 3.5 tackles for loss. He was everywhere making tackles, and that's something that we didn't really see a lot in the Barry Odom era, was guys just completing tackles. So many broken tackles. And against Alabama, Najee Harris, one of the best running backs in the country. He's massive. I felt like Missouri did a pretty good job of just getting him down and not letting him get past the line of scrimmage. And when they got him in a precarious spot in the backfield, they actually found a way to get him down and didn't let him weasel his way out. So that was something Missouri did very well, but I especially noticed, I felt like Martez Manuel did that really well.
That was one of the 3 that I wrote down several names knowing that you'd probably take a couple of them. So, yes, I had him down as well. I was very impressed by him.
Yeah. And he's obviously from Columbia, too, so that's a story you love to see.
Mm-hmm.
Another guy was Trajan Jeffcoat, literally named to the roster, put on the roster a week before the game. We weren't sure where he's been. I don't know anything about where he's been in the last year, but he played really, really well, especially towards the end of the game. Maybe when I'm not sure what Alabama's offensive line situation looked like. I don't know if all their starters played, but he took advantage of that opportunity, and he looked really well. He looked very good. He was getting around the corner, getting pressure. He looked very fast, very agile. So
he did make a play sort of at the sideline where he stopped a play for basically no gain in the first half. So that I went back and rewatched the game, and I did take note that he was active in the first half as well, making a couple plays.
Yeah, that was so needed considering the depth of the position. We really need him to continue to be great.
Yeah, and he was another one that I wrote down on my short list here.
Yeah, I just told this to you actually before we started recording, but I saw on Twitter, I think Coach Drinkwitz is actually, or they may be doing some kind of news conference right now or something, but defensive coordinator Ryan Walters said some players on the roster were literally crying tears of joy when Trajan Jeffcoat was announced that he was coming back. So obviously a great player, but must be really respected in the locker room and a leader.
Absolutely. Go ahead and give your third one because you've taken 2 of mine, then I'll fill in with a couple that I had.
I bet you may have my third as well, but Jalen Knox.
Absolutely.
I'm so happy that they put him back in the slot where he played a lot in high school and just got him more involved. And, man, they were doing a lot of pre-snap motion. And I noticed that especially Jalen Knox was, in particular, running back and forth behind the line of scrimmage before play started. So but I can't remember his exact line, but I think he
5 receptions, 63 yards.
Yeah, so obviously not an amazing game, but against Alabama, that's pretty good. We'll take that. And for a guy that kind of has bounced around a little bit and hasn't been super consistent,
he's not going to be the first option on most,
Yeah.
on the structure of most passing
Right.
plays.
I legitimately feel really good about 3 or 4 of our pass catchers, and I haven't felt that way for a while.
Yeah, he also had a 6-yard rush on one of those end-around plays. Yeah, those were all 3 guys that I had written down. I echo your sentiments on all 3 of those. I'll add a couple more. Harrison Mevis. I mean, what more could you want there than just making field goals?
Yeah, he looked great.
Yeah.
I mean, looked like very strong kicks.
Yeah.
Like obviously very accurate right down the middle. I mean, we only saw him kick like 2 or 3 times probably, but I mean, he was just
It just
money.
seemed easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully
We're in good hands there, I think.
at least until we have reason to be worried, I think we'll be confident. I will be confident every time he steps out there.
Yeah.
As long as it's, reasonable distance. So I was impressed with him. This one, I'm going to cheat a little bit since you took 2 of mine. Or all 3 of mine that I had written down. I'm going to cheat and say Joshua Bledsoe and Tyree Gillespie. They didn't do anything that I was surprised by necessarily, but I was just impressed with how solid they were and how they did live up to expectations against potentially the best team in the country.
Yeah.
And especially against the team with the best group of skill position players in the country.
Yeah.
And there were times where even though there was a completed pass, even though there was a long completed pass for a touchdown a couple times, it was really just a great play by the offense. It was a great throw by Mac Jones and good plays by the receivers. As many of those that there were also decent enough plays by the offense that were broken up by the Missouri secondary. And there were plays that were just snuffed out by the safeties kind of coming up around the line of scrimmage and making big plays. So even though we had big expectations for them, I was absolutely impressed with those 2 guys.
I would say Tyree Gillespie is probably in the 99th percentile of athletic ability in college football. I mean, the dude is probably one of the fastest players on the team.
When he was running alongside Jalen Waddle on one of those long throws, I was like, holy cow.
He's fast, but he's not small at all.
Right.
He is a very well-built individual, and he was really laying the wood a couple times there. He was hitting guys really hard early on in that game.
You mentioned the tackling as well. Both of those guys were extremely impressive with their just ability to wrap up and just not let guys go.
Yeah.
And let that second defender get there in time to bring the guy down.
Yeah, I mean, they were making plays in the backfield. I mean, they were everywhere
Yeah.
in that game, and I'm excited to see what those 2, really all 3 of those safeties now. I mean, I almost feel like you can include Martez Manuel in that group. I mean, the safeties are just really, really solid.
Absolutely. Then I'm going to kind of segue into my next question here to you, but I'm going to go first on this one. I want the player that has the most room for improvement going into week 2 against Tennessee, the player that you want to see something more from going into week 2. And I'm actually going to use my last spot of somebody that impressed me and where I want to see improvement on the same guy, and that is Sean Robinson. Where I was impressed, his accuracy. Well, that's a place where I was really worried. That's an aspect of his game that I was worried about, was his accuracy, and he kind of proved me wrong in this first game. 19 of 25 throwing for 76%, 185 yards and a touchdown. Only 25 attempts is not a ton, but we know that that's not what Missouri's going to want. They're not going to want to throw the ball 40 times a game this season. He looked the part when he had a clean pocket and had time to kind of find his guys. I thought...
Which wasn't a whole lot.
Right. That didn't happen a ton. And there were times where, like, Damon Hazelton had a couple drops in this one that I was just like, come on, dude. Like, Hazelton in particular was not helping out Sean Robinson in the slightest.
Yeah.
Jalen Knox maybe inflated the yardage numbers a little bit with some of his runs after the catch. But And then where I have to see improvement from Sean Robinson is just kind of like knowing, first of all, when to just give up on a play, and that's tough for an athletic quarterback, I think, sometimes. I mean, we see that all the time. A guy who knows he can potentially make a defender miss. But there, I think, were 3 plays where he just kind of did that spin out of the pocket, and there was nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And he got tackled for like a 10-yard loss every time.
Yeah, Coach was pretty upset about that. He was pretty vocal about that in his post-game interviews. Was just like, he's got to learn how to throw it away or something. That. Yeah, can't
if
take
anything,
long sacks.
Yeah, you can't take those long sacks. And if you're going to try to make a play with your feet, it's just extending the play by rolling out or spinning out backwards against Alabama is never going to be the play.
Yeah.
If you want to make something happen, you need to run straight ahead.
Yes.
And just try to get back to the line of scrimmage.
Right.
And he just didn't really do that a ton. When he got to the outside, he tried to run for a couple first downs. And then just the lapse in judgment on catching the batted ball and then trying to throw it again. Like I
probably would have done the same thing.
Yeah, that's like kind of an instinctual thing, but just you gotta know just
it's frustrating,
to
though.
Like kind of just hit the ball down
right.
and make it incomplete.
Yeah,
but that was a weird one. But
I think
those rollouts frustrated me, but he still was a player that impressed me with his efficiency when he was throwing the ball and his accuracy.
Yeah, he had some really nice throws in that game, and the big touchdown to Tyler Beatty. I mean, sometimes I think people overthink how difficult it might be. The guy's so open; it's easy to overthink that, I think. But he made a perfect throw. Had some really nice throws to Hazelton as well. I think some of the running stuff was like a little bit interesting. Like, okay, I wish that they would just throw it here instead of trying to do some of these little cute running plays and stuff. But again, they're playing Alabama, and they have literally no time to think through some of these things.
And there's
people on them.
Alabama's
so
just more athletic at every position.
Right. So I think that is something that could be more successful against a less athletic defensive front. But my guy that I was going to say is Kiki Chisholm. And he just didn't have a whole lot of targets in this game. Maybe that's because he wasn't open. Maybe that's because the quarterback just didn't throw it to him. I don't know. But I think that he's probably one of the most talented players on the offense and just didn't really make an impact in this game. And I would like to see more of him against Tennessee. Feed him the ball if you have to. But I don't know. I think I'd like to see less Sean Robinson running and more passing, but I still think that Larry Roundtree may have deserved more carries as well. So I'd like to see more. This sounds like I'm talking out both sides of my mouth, but I want more Roundtree, but I also want more passing.
Yeah.
So less cute little option plays and stuff, even though I know it's probably not going away.
Yeah, I can hear you there. I do think, though, that's going to be a wrinkle that we're going to want to see against just less elite defenses. Yeah. Defenses that just aren't quite as fast.
Yeah.
I think that'll work. However, I don't know, it's kind of a double-edged sword because I think the idea is there that you are mitigating some of the offensive line, some of the poor offensive line play by just getting the ball outside and letting your guy have some space and make something happen.
Right.
But at the same time, you kind of just need to do a more traditional power run game when you're just when the opposing defense is just so fast.
Yeah, that was definitely a thought I had in the game as well. Was I was getting a little frustrated with how much horizontal running action there seemed to be. And
I think Mizzou Twitter was all on the same page there, being frustrated by that.
Definitely, and that may just, again, be an Alabama thing. But I've heard Coach Drinkwitz's offense described as a lot of window dressing, basically. A lot of trickery, a lot of deception. So they kind of try and hide what they're going to do before the play gets snapped. And so that's where a lot of that pre-snap motion comes from, with Jalen Knox running all over the place. And they literally came out in the first play of the game and ran like a triple option play, so they have a lot of options within that format. But I would have loved to see it felt like Roundtree was really doing pretty well when he was running north and south.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just wanted to see more of that, I guess.
Yeah, Roundtree, 14 carries for 67 yards. That's good for 4.8 yards per carry.
Yeah.
That's
he looked
solid.
really good.
And the team as a whole, so check this out. The official stats read 34 carries for 69 yards for 2 yards per carry. However, if you take out Sean Robinson's 8 carries for negative 35 yards, you get numbers of 26 carries for 104 yards, or 4 yards per carry.
Looks pretty good.
Which is fine against Alabama.
Yeah.
Better than fine, probably. So, yeah, heading outside on like a speed option, I'm with you. That most people probably could have said that's not going to be super successful against Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing that I maybe wanted to see a little bit more of, and maybe this results in just handing it off to Roundtree every time or Beatty, but the read option where you give Robinson, he's making a read on that speed option, whether to pitch the ball or not, but giving him the option to just hand it off or take off and run on the outside, maybe try that a little bit more.
Yeah. He definitely did do that a few times. See where that defensive end is and make the decision.
Right, and you're not getting strung outside as much. You're getting, north and south immediately.
Right.
More often in that type of play. But
it's
I'm
easy
not an offensive coordinator.
There's so many things where I'm like, I wish we would have seen more Tyler Beatty, but we just weren't on the field all that much, right. And I think that that's part of the reason why we just kept trucking away, because these guys just need reps. The offense needs more reps to gel and get some more guys involved, and we just probably in a normal game hopefully have more offensive snaps than we did probably in this game.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about it in the preview that it would be difficult for Missouri to sustain drives, just because we knew we were going to see some negative plays and some plays for 0 or 1 yard pretty often, and that's just not a recipe for moving the ball down the field.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about Alabama, but I did want to just talk about Mac Jones for a sec and how impressed I was with him. And in the preview and the preseason, I was kind of talking about how maybe I thought Bryce Young would take over this team at some point, but in the first game against Missouri, we still think Missouri's going to have a solid defense, Mac Jones looked like the guy.
It was a pretty clear difference.
He didn't even need to show off very much. He just had like perfect touch on some deep touchdown passes where it was just an absolutely perfect throw.
Yeah, it helps to have Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith for sure, but
the secondary was keeping up with the receivers for the most part, and he was just dropping it in where only his guy could get it.
Yeah, he truly looked as good as a quarterback as they've had in a while, and obviously they've put Tua in the NFL, so I thought Mac Jones looked really, really good. He was impressive.
There was an interesting stat that the broadcast brought out at some point, which showed Alabama's offense average yards per game and points per game in Nick Saban's career, and then compared that to just games that Tua started, and it was like 100 yards. It was like 280 yards per game, and then under Tua it was 340.
Yeah,
and then like almost 10 points per game more when Tua in games that Tua started.
Yeah, they were last year. Their mantra was almost opposite from what it normally was. Their defense wasn't as elite as it normally is, and their offense was scoring 50 points a game, which traditionally I don't really think of Alabama being that way. I think of the other way around. But on Saturday they looked like they had both sides going pretty well. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see how they do against some of the elite competition.
3 players I specifically want to talk about. First is Nick Bolton. I don't have a ton to say there. He looked good.
Yeah, you could tell they were scheming against him. They were trying to run away from him.
Yep, and he still made some plays. Blew up Najee Harris in the backfield one time, and just on a play where he looked amazing.
Yeah,
that was pretty early on in the game.
Yeah, he looks so athletic, and it's just
and the broadcast pointed out that him along with the 2 safeties behind him, you're just not going to get past those guys very much.
Yeah.
Now, as a Mizzou fan, it scares me to see those guys making so many tackles because that means the running back is getting through the defensive line too often.
Yeah, and you just almost don't even, just for a health point of view, you almost don't want those guys to have to be relied upon so much.
You don't need them in every single play, every single running play. Yeah. But Nick Bolton looked good, recovered a fumble. Trey Williams forced that fumble. But other than that, didn't see a ton out of him.
Yeah, I would say, sorry to interrupt you, but Trey Williams, probably the best game of his career, honestly, in my mind. At least just the way that, maybe not production-wise, but he just looked comfortable out there.
Yeah, and he looked like a guy who belonged on the field.
Yeah.
Where in previous seasons, previous games, he's just kind of looked lost at times.
For sure.
Although I'm excited that Jeff Coates out there too.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe that competition can lead to some good results.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Conor Bazelack. I'll just get your thoughts on him.
It's tough to tell, but there's things to like about Sean Robinson. There's things to like about Conor Bazelack. They're fairly different. Conor just looked really relaxed out there, almost too relaxed. He's got some swagger though.
Kind of that James Franklin.
Yeah.
Just like, are you like we're playing a football game here?
Right.
Like, come on.
Yeah. Definitely. I think like Russell Wilson, like he just looks like he's almost falling asleep out there. But I think Conor is really talented, and I personally love when he's in the game because I just think he's not afraid to throw the ball, and I personally think that's exciting to watch.
Yeah.
And there was definitely one moment in particular that he really screwed up a promising drive potentially, and that was on the third down play, and had a couple of guys open, and he could have even scrambled for the first down and just didn't, and like I don't even remember what happened, but they didn't convert on third.
I think, was that the one we threw it to Hazleton? I actually thought Hazleton could have made that play.
Yep, that was exactly.
The defense was right there, but I thought that ball was catchable.
He had somebody coming across the middle wide open, and I know he could have run for the first down as well. So, and neither of those things happened. So,
if Hazleton just makes that catch, though, it looks a lot better.
For sure. But, man, I love what both those guys bring. And, he's pretty quick on the ground, too. He looked nice on that scramble. Looked like the knee was healthy. So
he was going forward for a first down most of the time, not turning around in the backfield.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think he only got sacked once. So, I hope they continue to use both of those guys. I think they both, like I said, bring different games. And this is kind of a season that, it's just a totally different season than any other. So getting it done with two different quarterbacks may just be the play.
I don't know about that. I'll have to disagree with you there. I want Sean Robinson just to, if he can throw it, if he can complete 75% of his passes, 70% of his passes, then just let him do it.
Leave him in there.
Yeah. And that was even with a drop. I know one drop was from Sean Robinson that Hazleton dropped. I think his game, because those sacks are so glaring and just so clearly like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
If he doesn't have those three plays, then I think we're talking about, I think the reaction at least on Twitter is completely different for Sean Robinson. And I've seen a lot of people defending his performance in this game.
Yeah.
And
that's fair. Yeah. I think with the exception of Tyler Beatty's throw, I think I saw his average like air yard per target was like 4 yards in this game, and Conor Bazelack's was like 8 or 9.
That's true.
And
I think we're going to see that.
I think it just bugged me a little bit that he just looked afraid to throw the ball down the field at all. And even with the Tyler Beatty throw, his average depth of target was like 4 yards. So I would love to see him get more comfortable and throw the ball more. Yeah. And obviously that's just maybe who they're playing, which is going to be the tagline we use for everything in this whole game was like, well, it's Alabama. So
and to Bazelack's credit, I guess, if he just doesn't just barely overthrow a guy on the close end zone or close sideline, I can't remember who the receiver was. It may have been Hazleton again. If he doesn't just barely overthrow him, that potentially goes for a touchdown, and his stats look quite a bit different.
And Robinson had a touchdown. Daniel Parker Jr. dropped a touchdown from Sean Robinson as well that made his stats look better. So there's a lot of coulda, shoulda, wouldas from that game. But
and
no, I understand though.
On top of playing Alabama, it just is frustrating. I don't know. I don't mind giving a second quarterback a series here and there, but I don't like it being part of a quarterback competition when you still don't know, like imagine, we're going to find out something this week when we play Tennessee.
Definitely.
That's a winnable game.
If Sean Robinson is playing well, I would be perfectly fine to just leave him in there and let him take the game away. That is probably ideal, is if some guy plays well enough to separate themselves. I also like both of them, and I want to see what both of them can bring to the table, but I totally understand your point, though.
Yeah. We were talking a little bit about Alabama and then just got sidetracked. We started talking about these Missouri players. You must like them or something. Jalen Waddle, though, and Devonta Smith, both those guys were just incredible.
Those guys are both future pros for sure. Especially, I think Waddle it looked like one of the best one of the best players Missouri has played in a long time.
Yeah.
It felt like he was just unbelievable.
And I think he's the perfect fit for today's NFL that likes to use offensive players in a variety of different ways.
Yeah.
You know, put him in the backfield,
So well
get him going on
balanced.
jet sweep, put him in the slot, put him outside. I can see some NFL GMs just salivating over maybe picking him with like 10th overall pick or something.
That play that he made on the deep pass where he was thrown around in the air, got hit really hard, and still caught it. I mean, you just can't even be mad about something like that.
No, that was
It's
one of those
just,
plays
like,
where I was thrilled.
unbelievable.
I was thrilled with the secondary. I thought they were going to jar another ball loose and on a bang-bang play and just be right there to make the play and not let him come down with it. But he made an incredible play on
you
that.
just got to respect that kind of thing.
One other area that I was a little bit disappointed was the interior defensive line. Kobe Whiteside ending up with just 3 total tackles. I think that's like an opportunity where with Alabama running the ball as much as they did.
Yeah, he was definitely getting focused.
Yeah, it just seemed like something needed to happen there. But of course, we're used to seeing Jordan Elliott just
That's true.
dominate in those situations.
Yeah, we really need another interior guy to step up and help defend the run. And I know Markel Utzi got banged up in this game as well, and I'm not sure how. I don't think I've heard anything about him since the game, so hopefully he's back in action soon, but not sure.
Do you think the kind of the momentum Missouri had late in the game was anything noteworthy? Or
Yeah, I think so.
I saw some debate on Twitter about that because Alabama had pulled some of their starters, but their second and third string guys are highly touted recruits in their own right.
I would say a lot of their starters still did play most of the game, so it's not like they were playing full second and third team. So they still had some starters out there. I just think it was so encouraging to see the team fighting at the end of a game. Like, they got hit in the mouth and just kept playing, and that was something we never saw as with Barry Odom as the coach. Never saw this team.
It always spiraled.
Get hit in the mouth and then just like keep playing hard. They spiraled out of control every time. And so I was really encouraged by that. It just looked like a different team. They looked like they were having fun, and they really wanted to win and do it for their teammates, even though they knew that they were not going to win.
Okay, I'm ready to move on, but there was another injury. Devin Nicholson left the game at some point. Do you know if we've heard anything? It was very late in the game. Maybe they just took him out for
I didn't even know he was injured.
Precautionary reasons, but Cameron Wilkins came in late.
Okay. I remember Cameron Wilkins coming in. He played pretty well when he was in there as well.
But I saw some things out of Nicholson that I thought was pretty good to see.
Mm-hmm.
You know, nobody's going to look amazing. I don't know. There's kind of some give and take there. Like, Nick Bolton's obviously going to look better than most people playing alongside him. But since he's going to be the focus of an offensive line game plan to some extent, there'll be opportunity for Nicholson or Wilkins to look really good next to him.
For sure.
Ready to move on to Tennessee?
I'm ready.
I should mention Alabama scored 38 points. I think I predicted 38 and you predicted 39 in pregame, and 38-10 was almost the final score.
That's what your prediction was?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Right on target there. All right, Tennessee. Tennessee now ranked 21 in the AP poll, and we're going on the road to Knoxville. Last year, Tennessee beat Missouri 24-20 in Columbia, Missouri. This is third year for head coach Jeremy Pruitt, and they're off to a 1-0 start after beating South Carolina on the road 31-27. I didn't watch a ton of that game, watched some of the highlights. South Carolina had 2 turnovers, including 1 pick six that really helped out Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And Tennessee's defense looked pretty good in that one. Had 9 tackles for loss. I'll just give you a little bit more from that game. JG, as they call him in Knoxville, Jarrett Garantano, was 19-31 passing. That's good for 61%. 259 yards and a touchdown. However, the offense was 1 for 11 on third downs,
Yikes.
which is not good.
They were lucky to win with that kind of numbers.
Right. The turnovers were huge. The defense held South Carolina to just 89 yards rushing, or 2.5 yards per carry. So they looked okay. That was definitely a winnable game for South Carolina at home. Good matchup. The kind of competitive game I hope Missouri has against Tennessee, and frankly South Carolina later in the season.
Yeah, that game was back and forth the whole time. I was kind of watching the scores and then watched some of the fourth quarter, but
there was a moment where I thought Tennessee might pull away, but then South Carolina kind of came back a little bit.
Yeah.
Their last possession, they had to settle for a field goal. If they could have found the end zone, that would have tied it.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely. I kind of feel like Tennessee, South Carolina, Mizzou, Kentucky. Those 4 teams are all kind of on the same tier in my mind, and
we hope.
We hope.
That's where I'm at anyway.
And
I hope Missouri's right there with those guys.
This would be a monumental win. Like, this would be really, really big for their spirits, their team chemistry, and I mean, imagine if we. And I'm really putting the cart before the horse. Wait, is that the phrase?
Yeah. Normally a cart is behind the horse.
Exactly right.
And you're putting it before it.
Okay, so I'm doing that here by thinking ahead a little bit. But imagine Mizzou pulls off a win against Tennessee. I mean, they got an LSU team that clearly is not what they've been in the past.
Oh, that's where you're going with this.
And then they got Vanderbilt the week after that.
Oh, I mean, there's a win streak in the books.
I mean, don't want to get too excited here, but I guess it's easy to overreact after 1 week of playing, but it feels to me like the opportunities may be a little bit more realistic than maybe I thought going into the season. And I think that there are more opportunities for at least close competitive games than maybe I was thinking before. And I still don't know if I'm realistically calling for 5 or 6 wins or anything like that, but
you can't walk that back already.
I think Missouri,
you're calling for 5 wins.
I think Missouri is going to be competitive in every game they play outside of Alabama. Probably.
Okay.
So,
I mean, I love the sound of that.
Yeah. So we were previewing Tennessee, but I decided to give you my whole season rundown there.
Oh, I like it. Looking at Tennessee's roster a little bit more, Ty Chandler and Eric Gray are kind of the 1-2 punch at the running back position. On the ground against South Carolina, they ran for 133 yards, 4 yards per carry, and 2 touchdowns. So they were kind of pretty much dominant in that regard. And then it looks like 9 different players caught a pass for Tennessee in their first game. So they spread the ball around quite a bit. And their kicker was 1 for 2. He missed a 46-yarder, I think. So there's still nothing that is terribly scary to me about this Tennessee team. However, I just think they're solid.
Yep.
They just haven't been solid in a while, until last year, basically.
Yeah.
And they have built their team around their offensive line, that's not something that you want to oppose. You do not want to oppose a dominant offensive or defensive line. And I think Tennessee's offensive line is potentially right up there with Alabama, like just under Alabama for best in the SEC.
They're all like completely massive.
Yeah, it'll take your breath away.
I mean, absolutely, literally.
And they don't have the skill position players that Alabama has, but it doesn't take. All you need to be is Division I caliber when you're playing with an elite offensive line to make things happen.
For sure. Yeah, I think they have a very athletic defensive line and linebackers as well. So, I'm not sure that Sean Robinson is still gonna. I'm not sure he's out of the woods yet with facing really athletic defenses that are gonna wanna get those big sacks like like Alabama did.
Yeah, they'll want them. Just run forward.
Yes.
Throw the ball away, and everything will be fine.
Yeah, I think he probably has learned his lesson. I think he got chewed out a little bit. It looked like he was getting chewed out on the sidelines during the game. So.
Yeah, I think Conor Bazelack was as well on that one play where he didn't just run it.
You're exactly right.
For the first down.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of situations, even in a blowout. Now we're going back to back to Alabama, but those are the kind of situations, even in a blowout, where you just need your guys kind of reacting in a way that when you are in a close game, when those plays are essential, it keeps the drive moving forward. It's not detrimental to a drive or, the game at that point.
Learning opportunities.
Yeah, that's one of the beauties of playing Alabama first.
Yeah, it's one of the beauties of playing a whole season that doesn't matter.
Basically, eligibility means nothing. Year 1 for a coach? No, next year will be year 1. Don't even worry about it. All right. I think I'm ready to hear your prediction for this game. I want to say now. This is the last time I'll bring up our preseason predictions. I predicted a loss here. You predicted a win. I don't know. I'm not going to say what my opinion just yet. We do reserve the right to differ as the season goes on from our preseason predictions.
Sure. I don't see anything in that Missouri did to make me think that they're not capable of winning this game. I think they are going to win. I think it's going to be very close. I'm picking Missouri to win because I think they can win. And I also hate the guts out of Tennessee. Man. I hate them so much. That's what I like to
hear. They are a bit more likable under Jeremy Pruitt. And when they actually have some results to back up their talk or their fan base's talk, they're a little bit less hateable.
I'm going to need you to stop being so rational. And
we hate them.
We hate them, and I just broke your pen, and now you hate me, and that's understandable.
All right.
And but no, they're still like top 3 most delusional fan bases in all of college football.
All of sports.
All of sports. So
let's hear it. You got this as a win for Missouri.
28-24. MIZ.
Wow, man. Ooh. Well, I'm going to have to do the rational thing here and predict a loss.
You would like to do that.
Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry.
But I don't think Tennessee is even going to score 24 points. They scored 31 against South Carolina. I've got them scoring 21.
Okay.
Big difference.
Okay.
And then I've got Missouri scoring 17. 21-17.
Okay.
Offense hasn't quite figured it out yet. Maybe against LSU? Maybe? That defense looked vulnerable.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that in a sec.
That's an understatement.
Yes. We're going to talk about that in a sec. Kyle's got Missouri with the upset. Tennessee's favored at the time of this podcast by 11.5 points.
That's a pretty big spread.
Some spread. You got them upsetting Tennessee, and I've got Missouri covering the spread but losing 21-17.
How about that prediction last week that both quarterbacks would play?
Yeah. So let's talk about that for a sec. There was pregame chatter saying that Conor Bazelack was starting.
It's because
at some point I couldn't actually keep up with predictions. Yeah. I couldn't even remember what we said. So you're going to have to refresh my memory a little bit.
I predicted Bazelack, and you predicted Robinson.
Yeah.
And
to take the first snap.
The PA announcer apparently said Conor Bazelack, the starting quarterback. And
just reading the depth chart.
Probably. Yeah. That's they're assuming that. Yes.
He missed the or.
So all of the beat writers and stuff were like, Conor Bazelack, starting quarterback. Yeah. And so a couple of our listeners that know that I made that prediction were like shouting me out. I was actually grilling some hamburgers, and I started later than I wanted to. And so I was like grilling right up to game time pretty much. I'm like looking at my phone like, oh, nice. And I'm like, I missed like the first couple minutes of the game. I had to go back and rewind it or whatever. But that ended up not even being true. Right. Like 10 minutes before the game, we were thinking Bazelack is the starter, which did not end up happening. But I did predict that both quarterbacks would play, which did happen.
Oh, yeah.
Which I was like, I have no idea, but ended up being right.
Yep. We got some more predictions to make at this point in the podcast. Unless there's anything else you want to say about good old Tennessee.
I
think you've riled them up enough. We better move on.
Yeah, can't stand
them. Producer Cameron's going to get us started on the old SEC Pick'em plus Nebraska. Rest in peace, Big Ten. But they're back, folks.
Eventually.
Last week, I gotta grill you a little bit here.
All right, let's hear it.
Not only last week, the week before. Now, having done zero research and not really only knowing that Mike Leach was a new coach and that they were terrible last season, you said that Mississippi State, I think the exact quote is, they're gonna suck.
Oh yeah.
Was that it?
Yeah.
And they came out, and not only did they upset defending national champion LSU, Mike Leach and his air raid offense broke the single game SEC passing yards record with their quarterback, and he threw for over 600 yards, and they shredded the LSU defense.
Well, they're not going to be able to keep that up.
All right. Well, we both predicted LSU to beat Mississippi State, obviously. They were the big favorite in that one. But I just wanted to put your feet to the fire a little bit there and make sure you're not just going to let that one slide. We're just going to let it slide that you said Mississippi State, quote, they're going to suck.
Oh, well, don't think that I'm on the Mississippi State bandwagon just yet.
Oh, okay. I guess we'll get to their matchup this week. Oh my gosh.
They're still going to suck.
If you go all in on this. Well, we'll see. What else happened last week? We both I predicted an upset. I said that South Carolina would beat Tennessee. They did not. So you are 1 point ahead of me.
I wish I would have got that wrong.
Right.
So Tennessee would lose.
Yeah, well, thanks for picking them. Producer Cameron, why don't you take it away from here, run us through this week's matchups, and we'll make some new predictions. I got to take my lead back.
Alrighty. The first game this week, South Carolina at number 3, Florida. Florida is a 17.5-point favorite.
I'll take Florida.
Yeah, Florida looked
Big Florida guy.
Fantastic.
2 picks for Florida. South Carolina covers the spread, though. Yeah.
All right, second game, number 13, Texas A&M at number 2, Alabama. Alabama is a 17.5-point favorite as well.
What did Texas A&M do last week? They
terrible.
barely beat Vanderbilt.
They looked horrible last week. Give me Bama.
Yeah. Bama.
Or give me death.
And he's got Lou Saban's got them fired up after, he would call it a disappointing game against Missouri.
Yeah, they took the foot off the gas pedal.
Yeah, they're going to win by 24.
Easily.
Third game is 0-1 Ole Miss at 0-1 Kentucky. Kentucky is a 6.5-point favorite.
Kentucky kind of threw the game away against Auburn. They were right there with them last week. Couldn't get it done. I'm gonna take the upset. I'm gonna say Kentucky's they're just gonna fall on hard times here. Give me Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss.
I was gonna do the same.
Oh,
give me Ole Miss.
All right.
Next game is number 7 Auburn at number 4 Georgia. Georgia is a 6.5-point favorite.
6.5. Interesting. Both of these teams looked kind of disappointing last week, to be honest.
What are we looking at? Auburn at Georgia. I think Georgia did figure out something in the second half when they made a quarterback change. The guy that they put out there to start was not getting it done.
Yeah.
Auburn did look pretty good against Kentucky. I think we're going to look back on this one in 4 weeks and go, really? Georgia was almost a touchdown favorite against Auburn?
Mm-hmm.
So give me Auburn in the upset.
Yeah, give me Georgia.
Ooh.
Here we go.
Producer Cameron, I need to interrupt you here.
Yeah.
Kyle, I need to let you know that the fine state of Tennessee is the state with the 7th most downloads of our podcast. So it's very possible that there's some Tennessee fans maybe that listen to this. We know our buddy Tristan's over there fighting the good fight on behalf of the Tigers in Knoxville.
Yes, respect.
So do you want to alienate 3% of our downloads?
Oh, man, let me think about it. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
If you're a Tennessee fan, then just stop listening.
He doesn't mean it. I just want to give you the facts and just make sure you're educated on the subject, and then let you. Okay. All right.
Yeah. In this scenario, my feelings are more important than facts. So.
Gotcha. Okay.
Tennessee fans can see themselves out.
All right. That's enough.
Okay.
That's enough.
Next game.
Yes.
Arkansas at number 16 Mississippi State.
Okay. Mississippi State. Yeah. Now number 16 in the country.
18.5-point favorite.
18-point favorite. Sorry, British Cameron jumped in there. I can't wait to see Kyle double down on Mississippi State. They're going to suck. I cannot wait to see you pick Arkansas in this matchup.
Well, of course I would not pick Arkansas because, it's Arkansas. Come on. I got to pick Mississippi State, but even if Mississippi State
I see the wheels turning. You're trying to figure out how to stay on brand with the Mississippi State.
Oh yeah,
take.
I mean they're gonna still suck, but I mean they're gonna beat Arkansas. Come on.
Yeah, they're not gonna put up as many passing yards because they just won't need to in this one.
Oh yeah.
But do you remember the little statistic I gave you about Mike Leach when he took over at Washington State?
Yeah.
And they were really bad. And they were like the number one offense 3 of the 5 years he was there.
Yeah.
I think that's going to start. I mean, the SEC is not known as a throw the ball 60 times a game league.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see some crazy numbers the whole course of the season. I think Mike Leach in this offense actually has something to prove, and he's just going to kind of walk into the SEC in every matchup and be like, yeah, we're just going to throw it for 1,000,000 yards every game.
Rest in peace to Mississippi State running backs.
Yeah. Yeah, give me Mississippi State in this one. I think they're gonna trounce Arkansas.
Final game of the week. Number 20 LSU at Vanderbilt. 20-point favorite.
Vanderbilt is? Wow.
Yeah, at home.
LSU dropping from number 6 in the country to 20th. This is why we shouldn't have preseason rankings, folks.
Yeah. Aren't there only like 25 teams? Isn't everyone ranked right now?
Actually, something interesting that I did see in the rankings when I was looking at the full list, Pittsburgh is ranked 24th. They're 3-0. Michigan is ranked like 23rd, roughly. They have not played a game yet.
What?
Yeah. So those rankings are a little interesting.
If I'm looking at this correctly, Tennessee was ranked 16th last week, and they won and dropped 5 spots to 21st.
Yeah. There's some Big Ten teams ahead of them in the rankings that haven't played a game yet.
What?
And maybe the pollsters are really low on South Carolina.
Tennessee fans, if you're still listening, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
So at least we have that in common.
Right.
But that's it.
Yeah. They should be ranked way higher.
They shouldn't be dropped 5 spots for beating South Carolina.
Okay, if you say so. It's a really off-brand for you, but okay.
Well,
the rationality's taken over.
Yeah. They're gonna lose this week, though.
Oh well,
they'll be unranked after this.
We can only hope. Yeah. What do you like LSU to beat Vanderbilt?
Not really, but I'll pick them.
You don't like LSU in that matchup, really?
I'm not loving LSU, man.
They're going to bounce back. They'll look fine against Vanderbilt. Everybody will say, that Mississippi State was just a fluke. Mississippi State's actually good, so
okay, I'll buy it.
No big deal.
I'll buy it.
All right, I'm down by 1. I'm going to be up by 2 next week. Mark it.
I don't know if that's possible, but good luck.
Is it possible? No, I can't gain 3 points on them.
You can gain 2.
Yeah.
We could have a flip-flop.
I'll be winning. That's all that matters. I won't look back.
That's how it usually goes.
2 years in a row.
Wow, that's such a trend 2 times.
Yeah. Statistically, I believe that would qualify as a trend. You got anything else you want to tell the folks?
I was encouraged. Saturday. Maybe not at the beginning of the game, but looking at the whole game as like a piece of art, really just taking it all in. I was encouraged and saw some good performances from individuals, and like I said, I was encouraged by the fight and not letting them just run away with it, and that's something that we haven't seen in a while. So I'm ready to see this rejuvenated squad head into Neyland on Neyland.
Who cares?
If you guys are still listening, can you tell us how to pronounce it?
Literally nobody in Tennessee that listens to this podcast is actually a Tennessee fan. Why would an actual Tennessee fan listen to this podcast?
I don't know.
If you're out there, I appreciate you.
They're crazy, man.
I appreciate
They're
you.
delusional.
Tristan, let us know if you know any actual Tennessee fans that listen to the show.
And if they don't introduce it to them this week.
Actually do. I want to see their reaction. I want to see them come after Kyle on Twitter.
All right, guys. You can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. We're on Instagram and Twitter at Mizzou Sports Pod, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. We will see you next week.